Nevertheless, we earlier made mention that the organizers have carefully chosen very distinguished and well-experienced senior military officers to deliver a lecture. And it is in that regard that one of the guest speakers has just arrived, and I'm so sure very few, or rather our guest speaker for the first lecture does not need any introduction, because I recall he delivered a paper during the last Regimental Sergeant Major's Convention that took place in Maiduguri, headquarters of 7th Division Nigerian Army. We will still wait for the arrival of the special guest of honor, but nevertheless, we will continue with the program. Suffice to say, before I invite the guest speaker to present the first lecture, which is Regimentation and Professional Responsiveness, the role of the Regimental Sergeant Major, I would like to read an abridged version of the curricular vitae of our guest speaker, Major General Garba Ayodeji Wahab, retired, who, until he left the service, was the Chief of Administration Army. Senior officers, distinguished participants, gentlemen of the press. General Garba Ayodeji Wahab was born coincidentally on the 27th August 1958. Today being the 23rd of August, in the next coming 4 days, it is his birthday. But before I proceed, I would like to remind the guest lecturer that the standards we are used to when he was in service, even though he doesn't like it, we'll still continue with that tradition, because you are the epitome of tradition, of celebrating people that have made impact on the life of so many officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army. So I would like to crave your indulgence before I proceed, to crave your indulgence to please put your hands together for General Wahab for the view of the birthday. Happy birthday. As I was saying, he was born in Ilorin, present-day Ilorin West local government area of Kwara State. And he was commissioned into the Nigerian Army on 10 December 1983, and he left the service on the 28th January last year. He has attended several schools before commission, and of course, after his commission, has also attended several courses. He was at Asaruddin Primary School, Okepopo, Lagos, between 1964 to 1970. You can imagine, he was in that school a year before I was born. In 1972, he was at Ansarul Islam Secondary School, Ilorin, and School in 1976 for Jibril Martin's Memorial Grammar School, Surulere, and he was there from 1977 to 1979. He was at the University of Lagos between 1979 to 1982. I was reliably informed that he graduated with a good honors Bachelor's of Science degree in Political Science. He was also at King's College London between 2002 2003 and went back to the same institution between 2008 and 2009. His academic qualifications include a Bachelor of Science degree in Political Science from University of Lagos, as earlier mentioned, and a Master of Arts degree in Defense Studies from King's College, as well as a Master's degree of International Relations from the same institution. Other courses he attended while in service include the Young Officers Course Infantry, Military Police Officers Basic Course, as well as Police Administrative Management course. He also attended System Approach Training and Curriculum, as well as Computer Appreciation course. He was at the prestigious Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, for his junior and senior command and staff course, respectively. He also had his advanced senior command and staff course at the United Kingdom as a comparative student. He was at the Royal College of Defense Studies, the same United Kingdom. And of course, just as I mentioned earlier, during the course of his impeccable and very rewarding career, he has held command, staff, and instructional appointment as follows. He was an instructor and directing staff at Nigerian Army School of Military Police, Nigerian Army School of Military Police, Zaria, Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, and the prestigious Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji. He was also an officer commanding as well as an adjutant at 34 Field Artillery Brigade, as well as Army Headquarters Provost Group. He was a staff officer at the headquarters of the Nigerian Army Corps of Military Police, as well as Army Headquarters and Defense Headquarters. He was a military assistant to then Commander Training and Doctrine Command, as well as Chief of Policy and Plans at the Army Headquarters. He was a military assistant to the Chief of Army Staff and the Principal Staff Officer to the Chief of Army Staff, as well as military assistant to Chief of Defense Staff. He was, at a point, Director of Veteran Affairs at the Defense Headquarters before his appointment as Director of Operations at the Department of Army Training and Operations, Army Headquarters. Of course, he was the General Officer commanding the Premier Division, 1 Division of the Nigerian Army before his appointment as Chief of Administration, Army. It may interest you to know the representative of the Chief of Army Staff, General Abi Abubakar, was a staff officer under him while he was Chief of Administration. He was Chief of Administration. General Abubakar was Director, Personnel Services. General Wahab is a proud owner of so many honors and awards, which include Forces Service Star, Meritorious Service Star, and Distinguished Service Star. He also had the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award, as well as Field Command Medal of Honor as General Officer Commanding 1 Division, and General Staff Medal of Honor as Chief of Administration, and of course the prestigious Past Staff Course Dagger, and he is a fellow of the Royal College of Defense Studies. He had a very, very, what do I call it, excellent promotion history, because he has always been promoted. As I told you, he never missed his promotion throughout his career. He was a lieutenant on 15th March 1983, became a captain 15th September 1988, a major on 15th September 1993, lieutenant colonel 15th September 1998, colonel 15th September 2003, and brigadier general 15th September 2008, and became a major general on 15th September 2011. I think he deserved another round of applause. General Wahab was also at the United Nations mission in Somalia. I believe, if not because of time constraint, he has a very interesting story to tell about that tour of duty. At his leisure time, he enjoyed playing and watching football and following sports generally. I can rest assure you, he will tell you which team is playing today. And he also reads and writes extensively. He's happily married, and the marriage is blessed with 2 handsome boys. With this, may I crave your indulgence to put your hands together as I invite our guest speaker to the podium. The guest speaker, sir.
Distinguished participants, my RSMS, ladies and gentlemen, let me start by giving 2 assumptions. The first is on the topic given to me, and is on implementation and professional responsiveness role of the regimental sergeant major. I've adjusted the topic because the topic given to me is all-encompassing. If I'm to do that, I won't leave here today, because it means I have to talk about the RSMS all over the world. So I've adjusted it to be regimentation and professional responsiveness in the Nigerian Army, role of the regimental sergeant major. The second is, I believe the audience is not new to the topic of today. So what I've done, in order not to waste your time, even my PowerPoints have been made in a way that I've reduced animation to the barest minimum, so that I don't distract anybody's attention. With that, let me start my presentation by expressing my sincere appreciation to the Chief of Army Staff and the management of the Nigerian Army, and indeed, through the Director General of the Nigerian Army Resource Center, for inviting me to deliver a lecture and interact with you this morning. I'm talking on regimentation and professional responsiveness in the Nigerian Army, role of the regimental sergeant major RSM, as part of this year's RSMS convention. As you've been told, I delivered a similar lecture in Maiduguri in September last year as part of the convention in 2015. Gentlemen, as we are all aware, senior NCOs and more importantly RSMs are the custodians of unit customs and ethics. This is because they usually stay longer in the units than the officers, especially in the Nigerian Army. In the late 1980s, Army headquarters promulgated a policy mandating officers implementation in the men. Consequently, most, if not all, the administrative and related matters affecting soldiers and units are expected to be handled either by or through the RSM. Some aspects of the Nigerian Army unit's regulated life, however, have been eroded watered down or completely ignored and forgotten. This, without doubt, is affecting young officers and soldiers who are given an incomplete picture of their unit's activities. Globalization, especially technological development, has made it possible to know, read, comment, and participate about events in various segments of any society, even when those in those countries believe they are immune from such. For instance, China. China is trying to regulate the use of internet. But funny enough, 2 weeks ago, a very popular Chinese actor divorced his wife. And within 2 hours, more than 2.4 million, 2,400,000 people have gone over the net, commenting or dismissing the affair or talking about the divorce. And as of today, the trolling on the issue is, people on the issue are more than 10 million. And that's in China alone. That's to tell you how easy it is for anybody to comment and discuss your affair once you are on the international network. There are also people like Snowden and Assange who are not bothered about reporting about the organizations of their country. They have no qualms. They have no remorse. Yes, one is in London, holed up in one embassy. The other is in the US, is in Russia. The two of them are running away from the various governments. One has been accused of rape issue in Sweden. But the belief is if he should get to Sweden, he will be repatriated back to the US. But they don't give a damn. And if you know what is happening with in the US right now, the Democratic Party has jittery right now. Because during their convention, emails were released showing that there was a move or there were moves to prevent somebody from becoming the nominee of that particular party. And everybody believes it is being done by Russia. So I'll get to that later. But that is to clear your mind that, look, don't believe you are immune from all these things. Recent developments within Nigeria, whether you call it the Asuki Gate or whatever name you give it, has made people to be much more interested in what is happening in the military, especially the army. Especially with the juicy stories all over. Billions of naira, thousands of dollars, and whatever. Notable Nigerians like Dr. Onai Homo, who wrote in the Guardian on the 17th of July of this year, are commenting on the use of the military, especially the army. Why should they be performing police roles? And he got to the point the man requested for my comment, and I told him, look, the constitution is there. The president has the right to use his men. That's why he's called commander-in-chief. He has the right to use his military men the way he feels will support his moves. And if the Nigerian police is up and doing, then you can raise some of the issues you raised. But in as much as you have problems, the onus of that responsibility falls on the military, especially the army. So right now, the army is no more the third line of defense. It is actually the first line in the forefront of internal security operations. This issue has been further compounded by the counter-insurgency efforts in the northeast, southeast, and south-south, making today's topic very apt. The purpose of my presentation, therefore, is to assess how regimentation in the Nigerian army is affecting professional responsiveness of the service to the performance of assigned tasks and the role of RSM in the issue. The aim of my paper is to examine unit regimentation as a major factor in the professional responsiveness of the Nigerian army and the role of the RSM therein, with a view to improving on the current situation. To achieve my aim, I will discuss or I will clarify some words, examine unit regimentation, factors affecting enemies' responsive efforts, position of the RSM, attributes of the unit RSM, and problems militating against performance by the RSM before I look at the way forward. Now to clarification. I'm going to touch on 4 words. Then my second clarification, I'm not defining, even though I'm using Oxford Dictionary that defines. But I'm not defining, I'm trying to explain because there is nothing new that I'm telling you this morning. Oxford Dictionary defines regimentation as strict control. It entails strict control of the men, which at times seems too strict for the civil community, It is the strict control of the men that differentiates a professional military organization from other uniformed entities. This necessitates the military personnel in Nigeria to be governed by two laws, the civil or civil domestic law and the military law, as enshrined in the Armed Forces Act. Enforcement of the provisions of the Armed Forces Act in tandem with the customs and ethics of the Nigerian Army form the bedrock of unit regimentation in the Army. Thus, regimentation is about daily activities governed by specific rules and regulations. Now to professional. The same dictionary defines professional as an attribute of a skill of a very high standard. A professional in any field must possess the highest standard of skill. This is the difference between an ordinary worker earning salary in a particular area and a professional in the same field. The former is in the field to earn wages and not bothered about acquisition of any skill, while the professional must go through the rigors of training to be competent in his assigned roles. The criteria of professionalism, which are three, that is expertise, cooperation, and responsibility, are really the hallmark of the military in general and the army in particular. Therefore, soldiering is not just a mere salary job, which can be abandoned at the slightest discomfort, but a professional calling entailing training to master the art and science of arms and conflict management. Now to responsiveness. Responsiveness is an action, quick to react, to show interest or sympathy. In this particular instance this morning, our interest is in the quick to react to an event or crisis situation, instruction, or others, as against mere showing an interest or sympathy in the same crisis. However, to move on, we are not talking of just reacting to an issue. It must be a positive reaction, calculated to achieve result. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria provided for the establishment of the three services of the armed forces. The Nigerian Army is the oldest and the largest, and it therefore exists to serve the nation and bring any land battle to a favorable conclusion to the nation. Consequently, the enemy must be responsive to any requirement of the state and the citizenry. Above all, obedience to constituted authorities is the supreme virtue of the Nigerian Army. Role. I just simply talk about it is a function, a purpose, an office part, actions, and activities assigned, required, or expected of a person or group. From all this, the deduction is that one could treat the topic of today's lecture as either a question, what is the role, or what are the roles of the RSM, or treat it bringing out the factors affecting each of those four variables I've mentioned. I've decided to look at the factors rather than answering the question. Now to unit regimentation. As mentioned earlier, regimentation is the totality of all the daily activities performed in the unit in getting the personnel ready for assigned or implied tasks in any situation as part of their constitutional responsibilities. The 1999 Constitution stipulates in Section 217, among others, the primary responsibility of the armed forces being the protection of the territorial integrity of the nation from internal and external aggression. This explains why, since 2003, the Nigerian Army has been deployed in the Niger Delta area to ensure adequate security against militancy and insurgency, which has persistently threatened the economic well-being of the nation. As the crisis was subsiding due to the amnesty program in 2009, which was embarked by the federal government, other challenges developed. The armed forces, especially the Nigerian Army, is more committed to internal security at this point of the nation's existence than at any other point. The commitments range from counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency against Boko Haram, terrorist group using terrorism as both its strategy and tactics in the northeast, farmers and herdsmen clashes, and the perpetual ethno-religious issues in the Northwest and North Central, resurgence of militancy in the South-South, extending to the Southwest and the Southeast, and then the clamor for Biafra. We have kidnapping, cattle rustling, and armed robbery on a national scale. All these have put serious strains on the Nigerian Army resources. Unit regimentation remains the main thrust of preparing Nigerian Army personnel to be ready for tackling these national security challenges. Such regimental events include administrative, training, logistics, and leadership activities designed to keep the men focused on their professional callings and for them to be in constant combat readiness. Training and logistics must not be neglected in the maintenance of this unit regimentation. I'm emphasizing this because on most occasions, when people talk about regimentation, they believe it is only about administration. It is not. A few of regimental activities in units include, but not limited to what I've shown on the screen. Quick and firm obedience to lawful instructions and orders, pass through the appropriate means without questioning, which is the hallmark of the military. Adherence to unit programs and timings. Even when you are asked to come earlier, you report, especially for the men, you come an hour, 2 hours earlier. It's not for punishment. It is to prevent any unforeseen circumstances. And if I may tell you, I was a bit embarrassed. I went on a course in the UK, 2003. And there, nobody talks to you. You read all the instructions on the intranet. And they were told we were going on the exercise in the US, from UK, standard exercise. And the timing of movement was 9 o'clock in the morning, of Monday morning. And I believe, since the given time, the woman will not change his time. So I went to bed. On Monday, 8:30, I was still in my house. Then my DS called me. Garba, are you not going to the States? I said, of course I'm going. He said, you are the only student we are waiting for. I said, well, it's supposed to be now. I said, no, we've changed the time. Did you check your internet? I said, no. Me in my place, I was going to believe the woman does not change. Once it says 9, 9 is 9. So by the time I got there, I was the only student. I had to join the DS. And by the time I got to the inside the aircraft, every other person was talking about African time. Don't you know African time? The man who looked at me come by 6 o'clock in the evening, they didn't call him. I was well embarrassed. And that was when I realized why the army say, come by 7 when an event is for 9. But fortunately for me, when we finished and we were coming back, they said the timing for the first flight, which I was to follow, was by 11 o'clock. So very good. By 7, I was at the airport waiting. Unfortunately, most, if not close to 50% of the Britons, because that was the final exercise, and that was what would determine their next appointment. Those who believe they made it and they are going to be in the G branch went and got drunk. So they came late. So the first wave left and we got to UK. In fact, 10 hours later, the second wave came. And on the following morning when we got to the school, the commander was saying, hey, you are talking about the African. Now you guys, when you see beer, you lose your senses. I said, thank God. So you know. Now to factors affecting any professional responsiveness. There are factors determining or affecting the professional responsiveness of the military, or indeed any organization. The Nigerian Army is therefore affected by factors which include, but not limited to, the following. The first is legal proficiency. The professional response of any personnel to a crisis situation is governed by the provisions of various policy guidelines with the 1999 Constitution and the Apex. Supporting the Constitution is the National Security Strategy, National Defense Policy, Armed Terms and Conditions of Service, Officers and Men, Armed Forces Act, Customs and Ethics of the Nigerian Army and the Dress Regulation. Amongst these documents, the Customs and Ethics relate directly to activities of units in the Nigerian Army. The others, minus the Dress Regulation, covers all the 3 services as guidelines. The ethics document touched extensively on the various activities in the units, all related to regimentation. These are captured under general customs and traditions, starting with discipline, reveal, retreat, taboo, tattoo, bearing, haircut, and others, and the use of umbrella while in uniform. Gentlemen, I brought this out because since 1985, we've had issues where soldiers will be in uniform and they carry umbrella. If you look at that document, it forbids you carrying an umbrella while you're in uniform. But we still do it. And it's very easy. The reason for it, when we inquired later, was how, if you are in a war situation or in an operation, do you carry your rifle with one hand and carry the umbrella with the other hand? It's not possible. So please, gentlemen, that's the major issue that I need to look at seriously. I mentioned it last time, but I still see one or two while driving about in Abuja with umbrella. It's not military. It also covers ethics under general, professional. Even telephone, works, and war ethics are captured there. All these are activities that are crucial to the professional conduct of Nigerian Army personnel. Now to personnel. The most critical factor in the professional response of any force, and by inference the Nigerian Army, is the personnel. The documents and activities enumerated above will not, on their own, make an individual officer or soldier to be responsive to issues or perform assigned duties professionally. Even when you have the best of all materials, it is the human beings that matters, that will make those things work. It is actually the personnel that are being judged when we are talking about conduct and how they respond to a crisis scenario. Thus, the selection, training, and career development of personnel is important on skill acquisition and knowledge. Training and retraining will improve the cohesion of the unit, assisting in preparing them, which translates to professional response to crisis. There are designated individuals and appointments responsible for ensuring that standards set are high and achieved through adherence to instructions, directives, and orders. These include the unit, second in command, the adjutant, and officers and senior suits, especially the RSMS, all under the direction of the commanding officer. Now to equipment. Equipment holding, the types, statutes will affect the morale of the men and their state of preparation. Training will assist in making the men proficient on their equipment. At the point in the Northeast, especially in 2014, personnel were getting jittery as the story making the rounds was that Boko Haram was by perfectly and killed the Nigerian Army personnel. It was not surprising that units demand were submitting equipment requirements that far outstrip what was available in the Nigerian Army. Now to intelligence and information. Warfare, irrespective of the type in the modern context, be it limited, asymmetric, or unconventional, is based on information which is processed to get intelligence. Militaries worldwide have devised various means of collecting information and intelligence on foes and allies using humans, electronics, and drones. Gentlemen, please don't have this misconception that because somebody is your ally, no, you don't have to pick information about such a country or such an army anywhere in the world today. That's why I said people like Sandy have shown us that no matter who you are, the Americans have a way of collecting information about virtually everybody. They don't spare anybody. The only thing that is not happening in the US up to today is constitutionally. The government is not allowed to tap on an American citizen except you declare that person a security risk. If not, you cannot. The government will not. It is there in the Constitution. But any other country, UK, Germany, whatever, they pick on everybody. So, now talk of countries like Nigeria. As far as they are concerned, we are to be picked like butterflies. Lack of intelligence has been a major source of hindrance for the Nigerian Army in the Northeast and indeed other areas of deployment. We still depend on on ourselves. The army is expected to go out there, collect information, turn it to intelligence, and use it to pursue its operations. All the other entities have virtually failed. The Department of State Services have done so much at one point, but it was not really good enough. And it's unfortunate. But unfortunately, another issue with us is we've allowed our intelligence service to go down for a long period of time. It was from 2010 we started grappling with what was on hand and started coming up all over again. And a lot of people will ascribe that to maybe our involvement in governance. Now let me go to situation. I've deliberately used the word situation because I want to talk about three different periods. The first is on the past events, more especially our exploits in Sierra Leone and Liberia under ECOMA. It's still being discussed about it today, anywhere in the world, because Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter was used. All along, everybody had been using Chapter 6. Virtually all the deployments are so afraid of actually activating Chapter 7. It was in ECOMA. Chapter 7 of the UN Charter was brought in. And for the first time, it was really used. And everybody had been commending the area. And that's why you see people talking about if the army can go somewhere else to ensure security and safety of people there, why can't we do it here in Nigeria? And to continue to affect whatever we do. And in the immediate past, even the government made a point of bringing in the Americans, NPRI, who are retired military personnel, to come and see what the military is all about. And those guys submitted a proposal that the services should be reduced. The Army to 50,000, the Navy and the Air Force to maybe about 15,000 or so. All in all, it should be close to about 50 to 70,000. The law the country has was those something were never implemented. If they've been implemented, I'm sure maybe by today there will be no Nigeria. Because you can imagine what we're doing all over the country right now. The present. Perception about the Nigerian army and attitude keeps changing from military bashing between 1999 and 2002 to one embrace from 2006 till late 2013. Another high interest but low confidence from 2014, which is beginning to thaw, is beginning to improve now. And that happens because the president came up and said by December he wants Boko Haram to be pushed out of Nigerian territory. And that has been achieved to a great extent, to a large extent. We still have pockets. Terrorism is not something you wish away. It's not possible. We are even lucky, like I keep on saying to those who have interviewed me one way or the other. What is supposed to have taken us 13 years are taking us about 7 years. Half of the period. If you look at countries who have faced the same thing we faced, Sri Lanka, anyway, mention it. Afghanistan is still there, turning over and over and over again. But within 7 years, we've been able to do so much. But unfortunately, this is the time we need to be very, very careful. Because if the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria is actually pushed out of Iraq and prevented from operating in Syria, they will expand beyond Libya, where they are right now. And there's a direct link between Nigeria and whether I talk Libya, whether I talk Sudan. There's a direct link. So that's why I keep on saying that it's not time for us to beat our chest, because so much still needs to be done. Now the ISIS is looking for fighters, foreign fighters. They don't have them again in Iraq. And that has been reported as at this moment. That look, the Allied troops, especially that's what they call them, but actually the US and a few other countries have pushed the ISIS very close to Mosul, which is the headquarters. If they are able to get Mosul from there, then the tendency is for them to relocate. And the easiest place to relocate to is North Africa. And that's why they are beginning to talk about, look, we are changing the leadership of Boko Haram from this person to another person. So please, this is the time for us to be extremely careful. Whatever we do now will affect the perception and whatever is given to the army in future years. What about the future? The Nigerian Army's performance in the Northeast and South-South will definitely shape the future of the service. When I say the future, I don't mean whether it's going to be in existence or not, but the support you will get from the average Nigerian and the government. The complete routing of Boko Haram and effective aid to civil power in different parts of the country will ensure confidence and constant request for the service. This will in turn translate to positive perception and support, which will affect the budget, equipment holding, training, and ultimately professional conduct of the personnel. Now to leadership. Then my emphasis here is on middle cadre officers, the lieutenant colonels, the commanding officers and the officers commanding. These are the guys who have direct impact on tactical deployment and are the real responders when the Nigerian Army is conducting these activities. The attitude, actions, utterances, composure, and communication skills of this set of officers will determine the professional responsiveness of their units. Now to motivation. Gentlemen, human beings are motivated in different ways. There are some, it must be money. There are some, maybe appointments. Everybody has their own belief as to what moves them on. In the military, motivation is essentially in the form of allowances, promotion, good accommodation, kitting, support from the populace, and words of encouragement from commanders. A soldier who is deployed in an operation and is aware of the good accommodation, awaiting him when he finishes his tenure, will give more than one with no place to sleep when his tour of duty finishes. Now to the position of the RSM. The RSM is the first among equals in the unit and is looked upon and treated as the father of the unit or regiment. The RSM is the fulcrum that makes the wheel of performance and progress of the unit moves and oiled. He is the individual of the unit who ensures that rules and orders are obeyed due to the authority given to him by the provisions of the law. His experience, knowledge of the service, unit, and the individual soldier therein. He is expected to drive the professional conduct of the personnel of his particular unit while influencing others as the need arises. He is the link between officer cadre and the men. While controlling the men, he also serves as an advisor, eyes and ears, and mouthpiece of the commanding officer. The standard of drill, which is a veritable measurement of the responsiveness of a unit in peacetime, is a direct reflection of the RSM. However, it's been argued in some quarters that the RSM is only visible in peacetime, with no definite wartime responsibilities. As plausible as this argument is, what readily comes to mind is that training in peacetime is to get the men ready for combat. So the RSM is instrumental in the success or failure of the unit in war. Additionally, while the combat elements are deployed, the RSM still has so much to do in ensuring that materiel required by the fighting elements on the battlefield get across them in conjunction with the regimental quartermaster in an orderly and timely manner. It is his responsibility to ensure that disciplinary cases are not delayed by the commanding officer. Justice delayed is justice denied. Now to attributes of the RSM. He is expected to advise the commander and ensures directive instructions and orders and tasks are executed professionally. And is expected to possess some attributes which will assist him and invariably the commanding officer and indeed the entire unit in professionally responding and performing assigned roles in peace and wartime. His responsibilities in war will not be clearly spelled out in any of our proceed, but he does so much. The first is knowledge. The 21st century military and warfare in general is based on knowledge and high technology. There is no room for an illiterate RSM in the modern conflict spectrum. There is no loss of useless knowledge, as the information available to anyone nowadays is enormous, requiring constant review. The internet is bristling with information, which is available to all and sundry. Although this must be utilized with utmost care. Please, we need to be very, very careful when we access the internet every time. Anytime you go to the net and you are sending an email or whatever, please look very well at the lower part of your screen. You see a number, you see the thing. That's the number that's ascribed to everybody. Everybody has a unique number that's given to it. And the main server is there in the Pentagon. The Americans started the internet to serve their own personnel in Korea and Japan. When they realized the number of civilians on the system was more than military guys, they separated the military system from the civil system. The civil system is what is called international network, which we refer to as internet. The server is still there. Once you access your mail, somebody there is looking. And once they see something of interest, you are tagged. And subsequently, they keep on monitoring you. And that's why some of us believe if the Americans want to assist the army in prosecuting this operation, it is very, very easy. And furthermore, gentlemen, even the developed armies are careful with communication gadgets nowadays. The UK Times newspaper of 11 August 2016 reported the British Army, the British Army made a report. Since last year they sat down and were looking at what will happen if they are to deploy against the Russians, let's say for instance in Ukraine. And the report came out on the 10th of August. And the report was very clear. The way things are, it is difficult for the British Army, one-on-one, to face the Russians. Not for fear of gadgets or whatever, but the Russians have what is called friendly bears. 2 intelligence units that have perfected their arts, can hack anybody or anything. And they practicalized what that is all about in Ukraine. They went to Crimea and they annexed Crimea to Russia. And today, people are talking. Nobody can do anything. Because people are actually afraid of the Russian army. And that's what the British Army came up. Look, with what these guys are, let us be very careful. It is not possible. And they've warned that henceforth, nobody going for training should go with their iPads, handsets, or whatever. If you are going for training, drop all those things in your house. Don't bring them to business. The army has made so many policies on such things, but we still don't adhere to them. Gentlemen, that's the one. If a country like US, like UK, is saying this, and it is believed that it is one of the friendly bears that actually hacked the Democratic Party system. So they've gone far about those things. So they will incapacitate whatever you are bringing before they face you. So please, when you access the internet, I'm bringing all this, yes, it's there for you to use, but you need to be extremely careful. And it is time for us to actually adhere to some of the policies we've negotiated a long time ago. The RSM is expected to be knowledgeable about the Nigerian Army unit, its immediate environment, and indeed events around the globe. Without such knowledge, the RSM will end up playing second fiddle by depending on others to perform its responsibilities. He must be aware of the tremendous power conferred on him. Gentlemen, like I mentioned last year, it's like we don't understand what the rank we are wearing, what it means. And I make an example of, you have somebody who is a corporal. If you go to get to the dictionary and look at the meaning of corporal, even Mia mentioned the corporal, when they say corporal punishment, it's for you to physical, something that is physical, punishment that is physical. So if you are a corporal, you are someone that should be seen. You are a sane entity. But what do you have? A situation where you don't even know the power you have. The RSM has tremendous power. But do they use it? No. Leadership qualities. A major problem with most soldiers is their failure to grasp that irrespective of rank, the military is about leading, and they are there for leaders in their own rights. Despite the disagreement that whether leaders are born or made, the military and indeed the Nigerian Army is an organization that teaches and trains on leadership at all levels. And that's why you have section commander. The section commander is not an officer. He is a soldier. Section 2 IC. You are a second in command to somebody. He's not an officer, he's a soldier. So please, gentlemen, all these things are to prepare you, to make you behave and work like a leader. Leadership is a blend of 3 factors: persuasion, compulsion, and example. A leader must be able to persuade his followers or those around him on the objective. believe in it, compel them if need be, lead and lead by example. Now to discipline. The RSM must be an embodiment of self-discipline. Discipline in the army starts from the parade ground, where the use of dressing, airport, bearing, saluting, and obedience to instructions are of paramount importance. The ability to resist any form of inducement, enticement, bribery, or gratification will assist the RSM in performing its responsibilities. It should be above board and have the moral courage to always put the record straight without being rude, no matter the person. Even if the commander calls, you have to tell him the truth. The professional criteria of responsibility and cooperation are factors assisting the military in maintaining its high level of discipline. Behaviors within the army are governed by rules, regulations, customs, tradition, and ethics. The corporation provides for the hierarchical arrangement in terms of ranks and responsibilities, which the RSM will always benefit from. Next is hard work. The military is a profession which abhors laziness due to the risk involved. Hard work must be accompanied by knowledge and discipline to be meaningful. There are many activities lined up on a daily basis for the unit to undertake for its men in battle ready. Hard work and these activities must not be compromised, as administrative problems require the constant attention of the RSM for immediate action, either at its level or to the fact of will constantly evolve. Administrative matters must be addressed as it will easily dampen the morale of the men. While some of the activities will be delegated, others must be handled or supervised directly by the RSM himself. Hard work in this instance is not synonymous with rushing to perform whenever a superior officer is around, which in the local parlance we call eye service. Next is confidence. Confidence is a product of knowledge, hard work, and moral uprightness. The commanding officer must be confident in his own ability and readiness of the unit, which is most visible through the RSM. The RSM must show his readiness to perform assigned tasks without fear of failure and carry his men along. The confidence must not be arrogance, but pride in the ability of the unit. Decisions taken by the CO must be executed with conviction and purposefulness. Advice given to the CO by the RSM must be based on facts and not prejudices, while decisions on issues affecting the men must be taken without favoring anyone. These gentlemen know that I like this soldier, and the CO is asking, somebody is to go somewhere. Oh, I like this one. Okay, let it be when you know the man cannot perform. That's the totality of what I'm saying. Initiative. With his knowledge of the unit, Nigerian Army and the general environment, coupled with his confidence, the RSM should be full of initiatives to support the command in preparing the men for their roles. Such initiatives should be aimed at improving the unit rather than showcasing any individual. Team player. Gentlemen, whether you like it or not, you just must be a team player. So you must carry everybody along. I can do it alone, because it's not coming when it comes to the rules and responsibilities of the RSM. Adherence to procedures. This is where I have a major issue, not only within the military, it's everywhere in the national system. The psyche of the average Nigerian is, look, the procedure, they are just there. Somebody wants something, he wants to jump, he wants to have an advantage over others. And there is no shortcut, especially in the military. And that's why you do rehearsals over and over to identify weaknesses and correct them. So you have to adhere to procedures. Adherence to procedure can only be achieved if the person or those involved have the requisite knowledge of what to do and a discipline to go through the process. Initiative treated earlier should not be treated as circumventing appropriate organizational procedures. When you move beyond the military and go into the larger society, people are talking about security. Three things come up: people, procedures, and technology. The people are you, the RSM and his men. The procedure is what I'm talking about. You must follow the due process. The technology you may have, you may not have. But there is no system nowadays that does not have some little bit of technology to drive whatever you're doing. Now let me quickly go to challenges or problems of RSM. I'm looking at 5 issues. The first is poor leadership qualities. Gentlemen, leadership entails 2 issues: love and fear. Love, for you to do the correct thing and carry everybody along. Fear, by the men who do not want to offend the man who are taking care of them. The 2 go hand in hand. For you to be a good leader, people must like you. And that likeness is not because you are doing something extra to induce them, but you are doing the correct thing, and they must fear you. Next is lack of knowledge. Whatever we do, knowledge is basic. No room for literacy. You must have something to offer. If you lack confidence, even with the knowledge you have, then you can't perform. And when you have knowledge and you are not sharing it with people, that knowledge is bottled with you. The knowledge is useless. So you must share, you must talk. For a commander or for somebody who is going on an operation, you must understand yourself. How strong I am, how weak I am. Know the enemy. For the senior officer, what is called the estimate process comes in, where you look at the center of gravity of the person you are going to face. These are things you do. If you don't have knowledge of all those things, you have a problem. And then knowledge of the environment. And like Sun Tzu said, know yourself, understand the enemy, know the environment you are going to operate on, and you win 1,000 battles. Knowledge is in discipline. I don't want to give you my talk about that one. Then the next one is penchant for mundane things. The idea of examining every issue is based on money, based on what do I get from it, is a very bad thing. And yes, you can't blame those in the army, because that is what obtained in the larger society. Nothing goes for free. You must bring something. But it does not have to necessarily be on the monetary part. Even in the Western world, the belief is there is no free lunch. Nothing is free. You must bring something to the table for you to enjoy. But let us not ascribe what is in it for me. Bring something, then I will do it for you. The last point there is societal prejudices. And I've divided that into 2. The service and the larger society. The major problem of RSMs is the officer cadre. Not problem as per, I don't want you to develop, I don't want to move on, no. The problem as per 1, trust, 2, confidence, and 3, allow people to perform their responsibilities. We are not challenging the RSMs enough. And people will use examples of other countries. Oh, why is this RSM doing this? Those countries have learned some bitter lessons. And they've come up with ideas or ways of treating their various RSMs or commanders. And we need to look at that. If you don't encourage the RSM to perform, you believe the man has nothing at stake, he's bringing nothing to the table, then you will know the weakness. You will not know where or what to do to improve the RSM. The larger society is unfortunate, like I mentioned. The military bashing was a major issue for a long time. But the most unfortunate thing is, the average man in the street believes he can influence whatever is happening in the military. Posting comes, promotion. You see civilians running up and down, trying to influence where somebody should go. I argued this particular case with somebody, a renowned professor. And he was saying, yes, there's nothing bad in it. I said, yes, there's nothing bad in it. Even in the US, it is done. But it is done within the procedures and processes allowed. If you are to join any of the services in the US, especially as an officer, somebody who is known, especially a senator or somebody from House of Representatives, in the Capitol there, will endorse you. They yes, this man is from my state, and I'm standing in for him. Without that, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to join the military in the US. But the person, the man is bringing forward, is somebody who is ready to serve, not somebody who is looking for a job. That is the difference. salary, not means of livelihood, but a profession. So before the man will even bring you forward, he wants to know, okay, if the entrance criteria is for you to do 25 push-ups, the man stands there and you do 30 or 50 or 100 push-ups. Yes, this man is physically fit. He will take you. There are so many gun clubs or rifle clubs, whatever they call it. He will take you to one of them to go and see your performance. When you are finished with all those, that's when you now push it forward. Not here where you know the man you are bringing in has K-leg, he has a bad eye, he has one problem, or he has lumbago of the back, he has so many problems, yet, no be army, no be for him to just like Aki, I beg, take him. There is nothing like that. So these are things I was telling the man. No, there is nothing about it. The presidential system of government is all about lobbying. But the Americans came up and clearly identified what you can do to lobby and what you can present to even a political party. But here, there is no rule, there is no regulation. Somebody will write a list and say, these are my candidates, I want them to come into the army. It's not done like that. Unfortunately, that's what is being done. Somebody is posted and you see somebody carrying the phone. I beg, that's the only son of the father. I don't want you to go to Northeast. Can't you find a place in Niger Delta for the man to do? These are things that is not good enough, and that's what the larger society is doing. And it affects professional responsiveness. If that man is not good enough, you have a problem. You cannot react to situation. Now, way forward. From all I've said, I've just picked some of those points, like leadership training, the first thing to be done. You can't run away from training, especially leadership training for RSMS. They must be joined. They must be involved. In 2014, March 2014, the Leadership of Minister came up and said, look, we lack junior officers in the Northeast. Why don't we promote some senior CEOs, RSMs, let them wear field rank and take over some small units. If the belief is you can do that, then it means you'll be recognized. But you have to develop yourself as a leader. And that's the major issue. You have to look at leadership training. Exposure and initiatives by senior CEOs. Army headquarters and indeed commanders need to find a way, one, exposing their senior CEOs and RSMs, and allowing them initiative. Let them do things and then you can know the weaknesses and correct them. Yes, everybody wants to be a winner, but you have to put in place processes and procedures for you to be able to at least identify some weaknesses and correct those things. Two-way communication. We have to find a way of communicating both ways. From up down, which is what is obtainable now, and from down up. It goes beyond having dobbers. That is what we do. After an operation, a crisis or situation, whatever, we hold a dobber. The RSM brings everybody to ask questions, and everybody goes away to work on those questions. It has to go beyond that. And even though I've skipped that, I gave an example last year when I talked about the U.S. African Command. The then Commander General Ward came to Nigeria and brought the Commander RSM. He was visiting the issue, and they asked officers of the three services who are in training and operation to attend. When he finished, he requested for permission and asked the RSM to come and talk. The man was talking with so much confidence that some of us started feeling, what's wrong with this man? Why is he pocketing? He's even pocketing. Those are the things we're looking at. But in reality, the man was talking from a position of authority. And that's the major difference between us. They've created offices and responsibilities in peace, in war, in whatever, even in diplomacy for the RSM. And what the RSM did then was diplomatic, military diplomacy. You jump up, talk to everybody, and then they requested from the CDS to allow the man to go to the judge, and they went to judge to address our RSMs. Can we do that? At one point, we allowed, we're having corporal below competition without officers intervening. It was left to them to design their programs, do whatever. All of a sudden, we start bringing in officers. We have to find a way. Let them do it themselves. Correct them. And by that way, you are empowering them, you are allowing their initiative to blossom. Adherence to rules and regulations. Back again. Whatever we do, we must keep to regulations. That is the greatest danger we have today in Nigeria. Everybody believes the rules are there. Forget about it. If you obey the rules, there is no country that there is no corruption. After all, in 2007, Bernstein or whatever his name was arrested in the US for blowing more than $350 million of people's money. He was into housing and pension issue. One of the money. But the problem, the issue there is once you are arrested, you know you face the law. Full squarely. Here, somebody commits an offense, the police find it difficult, even when they finish the investigation, to prosecute. The judiciary is not assisting, even the military. How many Boko Haram members have been arrested since 2010, 2011? How many have been prosecuted? Once the people out there knows nothing is going to happen, you are encouraging those who are sitting by the fence. What is going to happen? Once they see that nothing happens, everybody joins in. And that's why you have issue of kidnapping becoming a national issue, because nothing has happened. Those who have been arrested since 2010. And yet, somebody will jump up and say, no, the way you are treating this person is against their human rights. So the man that was killed has one left, not human rights. So those are still the problem. Mentoring. Therefore, when I say mentoring, last year I explained what I mean there. We do it in an indirect way. You have junior officers and soldiers who come to individuals. Individual officers are ignorant. Okay, I beg, I want to do something. What do you think I should do? You analyze. If you do this, you might get punished. If you do that, you are mentoring that person. He believes you have knowledge. He is coming to you to seek for advice and opinions. It is a different thing from Godfather. A Godfather is somebody who is there at his inception, or who is there who makes sure you get whatever you are entitled to. He is not interested in your ability to perform or knowledge. What he wants is, this man is my person. He must get whatever any other person within that bracket is getting. That's what we do mostly, and that's what we practice. But mentoring goes beyond that. It is based on knowledge. You want to do something, and the man comes for advice, and you advise him, and you tell him right what he's doing wrong. Adherence to rules and regulations, I don't need to go through all those ones again. I've overflowed it. Let me see conclusion. My recommendation are 5. Junior officers and senior students should be given more leadership training to improve their knowledge, competence, and discipline. Senior students should be given greater exposure and higher freedom in the performance of their tasks. We need to open up a two-way communication system with the RSMS. Appropriate mentoring systems should be applied to senior students in their efforts of improvement of implementation, and rules and regulations guiding all activities in the economy should be enforced and adhered to by the personnel. I thank you for your attention.